Hi there, my name is Tolu. I'm the writer of inSTEM blog. inSTEM blog is a blog showcasing fresh and unique perspectives of individuals who have studied a degree in science, engineering, or technology as a way of highlighting and showcasing the wide-ranging opportunities that this group of subjects offer. In today's interview, I'm going to be speaking to a chemical engineer by the name of Thaddeus Anim Somuah. Thaddeus is not only a chemical engineer, he is a well-accomplished individual. He was recognized as part of the Forbes 30 under 30 list last year in the manufacturing and industry category. He is also an ambassador for the One Young World. He also sits on the council for the World Energy Council, amongst many other things. So the theme of our discussion will be focused around fostering your interests and passions outside of work. So I'll be discussing with Thaddeus on how he's taken steps to commit to his interest in areas like sustainability and diversity and inclusion with a demanding engineering career, how doing so has benefited him both personally and professionally. And I'll also be asking him to share any tips for anyone who has a desire to also lend their voice to causes that are close to their heart. So yeah, if you have a desire to make impact beyond the confines of your 9-to-5 work, you should definitely watch this interview. If you have any questions for Thaddeus, please feel free to post them in the comment section. He'll be more than willing to pick up any questions. Thank you very much for watching. Bye. So I guess first things first, could you please tell us a little bit about yourself, Thaddeus?
Yeah, so I'm Thaddeus. I'm a chemical engineer by background. I grew up in Ghana first, but then most of my education was in UK, northwest of England. And after I finished my studies, I started working for a chemical company, mainly in engineering and operations. And I'm engineering manager of projects now, and as well as project management and all that kind of stuff. I'm really involved in sustainability and outside of work. I also, quite passionate about social inequality and diversity and inclusion and education and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Excellent. That's really interesting. So like I said, I'm a chemical engineer as well. And you mentioned that you're very passionate about sustainability, diversity and inclusion, education. And I think that before I actually go into my next question, I think that your introduction was quite humble. In addition to being a chemical engineer, you're a Forbes 30 under 30. You're a strategist. You're an innovator. You are one of the ambassadors for the One Young World, organization. You are also a member of the World Energy Council, amongst other things. So you've accomplished a lot, and when you say that you're interested in things like sustainability, education, diversity, and inclusion, it's you are putting your money where your mouth is, essentially, and that's sort of reflected in some of the examples that I've cited. So my next question is, how did you first discover your interest in these areas that you've mentioned?
Yeah, that's a hard one. Part of it was during university, I would say.
Yeah.
Part of it is just you understand which topics you like. Part of it is also just kind of intrinsic values, how you grew up. I think social inequality was always something for me because I grew up for part with with not always very well off or something. And also for a part in Ghana, I was with my grandma, and no matter how little we had, we always shared, and it was a lot. It was important to be there for your community and to help those that had less or whatever. And so that was it's just in me, and that kind of passing on to the next generation. I think, it was just really, and that's why I'm really an education. Yeah, it's kind of just the way I was brought up. That education is really important, and community is really important, and sustainability is just something and chemistry and all that kind of stuff. Something I liked at university. So it's a combination.
How have you been able to foster, these passions of yours? You work as an engineer. You mentioned during your introduction that you're the engineering project manager, which I can imagine is quite demanding, especially if you're leading teams, and the average engineering role is quite demanding anyway. So what steps have you taken to actually, foster your passions?
I'd say, um, you know, first things first is to understand your passions. So while I was at uni, I was working in Procter and Gamble. I was doing some internships there, and they gave me quite a big financial contribution, and I had a lot less debt because of them. So I'm very grateful for them. But I decided, like, after uni, I wanted to go work for a chemical company, and Procter and Gamble's a great company with great opportunities, was paying much more, and all these kind of things. But I understood, for me, like, my passion was to do, get involved more in the chemistry side of it and that kind of stuff. So if I'd say, listen to yourself. Of course, there's no like right answer because everybody's an individual. So that's the first, and then also, you're not the first. I would say I was always involved in, like, asking people, whether it's at work or through associations, or there's always someone older and wiser, or someone who's done it before. They can be younger and wiser as well. you know um, so yeah, find mentors, friends, peers, or whatever, and networks, and that's how I did it.
Interesting. So listen to yourself, understand, your passion, your interests, what you want to do. Identify mentors and glean from their experience. They've gone ahead. I mentioned earlier that you're involved in a number of organizations and really large organizations as well. I met you at the Association of Black and Ethnic Minority Engineers. You are on the committee for the World Energy Council, an ambassador for One Young World Summit. And I know that you do a lot more. In discovering these, organizations, was it just a matter of Googling, like, I want to do this, and they came up? Like, how did you actually become connected with these different opportunities?
Yeah, I would say that, I was always someone who was highly involved. So you got to imagine that when I was in university, I was also part of the University Engineering Society, whatever like that, and also involved in ICAME and that kind of stuff. AFBE wasn't really around then, or at least it wasn't on my radar, so I wasn't involved in that yet. But I kind of always keep my eyes open for initiatives, and I also try and keep in contact with, or at least follow, in some case, or stay open to the people that you've met before, whether you're old classmates or, and sometimes it's little, just just tell them congrats on getting a new job, and that's all you need to do is stay in touch. But sometimes you see that they're doing a cool topic or something like that, and you say, hey, hang on a sec, I'd be interested in learning more about that or something. So I think I learned a lot from people who are involved in other initiatives, and who kind of, for instance, One Young World. I found out about One Young World from someone who had actually already been before on a scholarship, who's a friend of mine, and that's how I got involved in it. And whereas AFBE is something that I just saw more and more of the impact that they were having, through basically social media and stuff that I saw them, and so then I got involved in it, but I didn't really necessarily go and Google it. I suppose, but if you want to and you want to take the initiative, I think you should just Google, because Google, there's a lot of stuff out there. So, and you'll find your niche and your passion. I,
Interesting.
yeah, I kind of stumbled across it. So,
Yeah. So, with all these many responsibilities, we're not talking about your full-time job. You do have a full-time job. How do you stay committed and consistent? And I should highlight also that you're not just, members of some of these organizations I've mentioned. You're actually proactively involved. You're on the committee, on the boards, and so on and so forth. So how do you juggle that with your 9 to 5? How are you able to sustain work-life balance?
yeah, it's a funny thing, really. I gotta say that you should probably talk to my wife, but I just say organized people, they don't. I have a lot of time that I spend, at home relaxing. I kind of just organize it. When you are actually organized, it's like packing a suitcase.
Mm.
All of a sudden you have so much more space. And it can seem maybe a little intense to like over organize everything, but when you start to do it, you just have the time to do stuff, and you make clear what you can do and what you can't do, and sometimes you have to say no. You have to be clear. So that's part of what it is. Just and organization is something that it comes naturally to me. I would say I don't even need to make a massive effort.
So I'm just going to highlight a couple of the initiatives that you're involved with. And I'd like to talk briefly about being Forbes 30 under 30 as well, because that's really cool and that's definitely a really great accomplishment. But you've mentioned that, you are interested in sustainability, climate change, and diversity and inclusion. So I'm going to talk about your role as part of the World Energy Council. And in relation to sort of diversity and inclusion, I will talk about your role with AFB as well. So what do you do, and how do you influence and shape the outcomes of these initiatives?
Yeah. So let's start with AFBE, because that's the one we're both familiar with. AFBE, it's a fantastic organization, really. It's really about promoting diversity and inclusion as a whole. Does focus on ethnic minorities within engineering, but what we've managed to do is which is the key, is not to be divisive. And actually, a lot of our talks and a lot of people that attend the talks and a lot of our members even are people who are not from those minority communities. And the idea is that we're doing it together, right? So we're doing it with these institutions. The country is predominantly non-minority. So to make the change, you have to do it together, not just a club for, minority people standing up for their own rights, but a kind of society thing. And so what we were doing together actually at AFB, funny enough, is we were both in the communications. I'm still in the communications, and we're trying to be, the voice of AFB, and that is, promoting achievements, whether that's of AFB, of individuals, or within AFB, or just individuals from minority community, or individuals outside of the minority community who've done something that could be inspirational or have a great impact on the minority community. But as well, promoting general diversity and inclusion initiatives and giving hints and tips. So we really tried to also grow the organization. So, because when you can promote more, we can have, more partners. You look more professional, get more members, and really you can you don't have members for the sake of members. You have members for the sake of improving the whole diversity and inclusion landscape in the UK, really, and beyond. So yeah, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make a place where, we're getting more engineers from all backgrounds into industry, and that they feel welcome in industry and they stick around if they want to, you know.
Awesome. And the World Energy Council?
Yeah. World Energy Council. Yeah, you got on. So I'm officially a future energy leader in World Energy Council, and what that is basically it's it's a group of about, well, it's fit each year. It's like 40 to 50 individuals to be the future energy leaders, and these people are kind of voluntarily helping World Energy Council in their initiatives. So what are the initiatives? We write some like policy documents, but also some kind of guidelines and outlooks and hints and tips and stuff. So one of the things that we've been doing is we call it the energy trilemma. So
Not a dilemma, a trilemma.
A trilemma, yes.
Sounds very interesting.
Yes. Trilemma. So and then we've got some real like index statistics for all these different countries. So we've got an which you can look up, and we've got some reports. So it's the trilemma is energy security, energy equity, and the environmental sustainability.
Right.
So energy equity is all about, you know, the idea of affordability and, you know, like a little bit like what I was talking about, social inequality, but then for energy, right? Energy security is also a big one because energy equity is important because when you go in renewable, a lot of people say it's more expensive or something, right? Energy security is a big one because, you know, you need to be able to have energy supply on all time. You know, industry runs on electricity and all that kind of stuff. So, but you know, a lot of stuff that with renewables, people say, oh yeah, you know, the sun only shines half of the day. So what do you do for the other half of the day? That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And sustainability is obvious. Oil and gas, massive amount of CO2 emissions.
Right.
That's an issue. We need to reduce emissions. So it's a trilemma index. And so for what I was involved in this year is, so I wrote the report for the Netherlands, which is where I'm currently based. But this is just one of the things the World Energy Council does. Right. So we've got multiple other things that we're doing, but it's these kind of guides or statistics or outlooks. They're really to help shape the understanding of government and of companies and individuals. So that's basically what World Energy Council are trying to do. You know, it's trying to really be a force for good in this whole energy transition and also help bring society along.
Do you find that being an engineer, having an engineering background, lends itself easily into some of these initiatives that you're involved with, particularly something like, you know, the World Energy Council?
Yes and no. I would say in the future energy leaders, there's people from all sorts of professions, finance, consultancy, some engineers, not massive amount, but you know, it's really wide. I would say you don't need only engineers in this. You need everybody to get involved. So being an engineer is an advantage, yes, but it's only an advantage if you've got that diverse, multidisciplinary group, because you won't get it over the line as an engineer or as a scientist alone. You need people who understand the economics of it, people who understand policies, people who understand the social that aspect of it, who can market it, you know, all these other things, you need them as well, you know. So
Fair enough. That's a fair point. Do you find that being involved in what I'd like to, I guess I'll describe it as extra professional activities, right? Like these are things that you do outside of your 9 to 5. Do you find it actually helps you at work and vice versa? So I can see an overlap between the kind of work that you do and some of the examples that you cited, but you know, are there any benefits that you can actually share?
100%, 100%. For instance, we have introduced internal carbon tax within Croda, where I'm working. Also, we've got an ambition to reduce our operations emissions by 50% from 2018 to 2030. So we've done a whole decarbonisation roadmap for operations to 2030 to make that 50% emissions reduction. And, you know, a lot of other companies are doing similar things, you know, and in these organizations that I'm involved with outside of work, I'm talking to people about these kinds of topics. We're exchanging these ideas, and these ideas I can directly bring back into Croda and say, yes, this is how we could do it.
Right.
You know, so in that term, it's you know, and especially when you're looking to the future to achieve a lot of these sustainability things, you can't just do the status quo. You know, what everybody within your company knows how to do. You need to radically change.
Yeah.
So you need external inspiration. You need you need sometimes that kind of diversity in ideas, the cross-pollination that happens at the intersection that you won't get if you just stay in your own environment, you know.
I mentioned that I was going to ask about Forbes 30 under 30. How did that come about? And tell us how you felt when you saw your name published as part of, the list.
Ooh, yeah. Thank you. It's a real honor to be listed amongst those people. A lot of amazing people in those lists each year, and I think anyone can be nominated, and then you get some emails back from them, and they ask for all sorts of references and get in touch with people and questions and stuff. But you never think that you're going to be chosen because the amount of applicants and all that kind of stuff. And so it was just mind blowing to be chosen. That's the thing. And I think part of it, I would say, is not just what I was doing in my day job. Essentially, it was all the stuff that I was doing outside the day job, and
culminated into you being recognized, right? So it was mainly to do with all the sort of outside of your 9 to 5 activities that you're involved in.
Absolutely.
Very interesting.
Because if you look at the lists, the other people that make the list every year, just being a high flyer in work doesn't get you on the list. You need to be doing something that they see is, trailblazing, something that's making an impact beyond, and it's gonna last. And in some cases, it's that you've already made such a massive impact, and in some cases, it's that you're gonna do it.
There are probably a lot of young engineers like yourself, and perhaps even students, not just engineers, but also scientists, technologists, within the STEM sectors, who may have the desire to want to do and to make impact beyond the confines of their work, but may just not have enough awareness of how to go about it. You have previously mentioned, stay open, build your network, invest in relationships. But what are some of the more practical, steps that you can take to actually, fostering these interests?
Okay, I'm gonna make a little plug. So um, join.
Feel free to do that.
Yeah, well, yeah, join associations.
Right.
Join, yeah, whether that's your professional registration, IChemE, ICE, IET, or there's many different ones, IMECE, or whether that's, a kind of a diversity and inclusion for your group, like AFBE or something else, or whether that's a topic of interest of yours, you know, I would say get involved in these networks and these formal organizations. And, you don't need to invent the project yourself. There's a lot of people already doing great things. And you can, just choose which one you want to get involved with and help them along their journey. And if you, during that, decide, hey, I want to start something myself, then you can do it. And these kind of networks and groups also will help you find people to support your ideas. So I would say join these existing organizations and networks, initiatives, and the world is your oyster.
And finally, what is the aspiration for you, Mr. Thaddeus? What is the goal?
Yeah. You know, goals change. I honestly, like I'd say, right now my goal is really to try and make the biggest impact. So, but particularly on sustainability in terms of the long-term future, and maybe I'm going to try and find a way to combine sustainability and social inequality. But I'd say really that's my goal. But everyone changes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. But I think, you said it, you want to make impact ultimately, whatever it is you do. You're already doing that. And I know that you're going to do a lot more of that. So, yeah, I have no doubt. And I wish you all the best. Thank you very much for taking time out to speak to inSTEM. Really fresh and insightful perspectives you've shared. Are you open to being contacted for questions or anything with regards to the initiatives that you're involved with?
Yes, please, anyone who's reading this, watching this, wants to find out more, or just have a chat, feel free to get in touch. I'm available on, just message me on LinkedIn or whatever, and
Awesome.
we can always exchange ideas, and learn from each other a lot.
Excellent. Brilliant. Thank you very much.